Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the meeting of the Town of Yucca Valley. Town Council meeting Tuesday, November 16th at 6 p.m. We'll call this meeting to order. Legal counsel, any reportable action out of closed session?
Thank you. The Town Council met in closed session with respect to the one item on the closed session agenda, and there is no reportable action. Very
good. We'll go with our roll call, please.
Council members Dennison.
Here.
Droz.
Here.
Lombardo.
Here.
Schooler.
Here.
And Mayor Abel.
Here. All right. Please join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I will have Councilmember Dennison lead us, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Please join me in the pledge to our flag. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to start off with a presentation. California State Senator Shannon Grove's updated report. Our field representative, Dominic Hayden, is here. Welcome, Dominic, and thank you so much for being here and representing our state senator.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be back and just want to give a brief update on the end of the legislative session this year. So the Senate and the Assembly adjourned on September 10th. That was the last day to pass bills out of the legislature. October 10th was the governor's deadline to sign or veto those bills. Out of the 2,400 bills that were introduced in the Senate and Assembly, 836 were passed out, and the governor signed 770 of those. And that was trimmed down a lot this year due to COVID. The legislature limited the amount of bills that senators were allowed to introduce, which in some cases was a good thing. I want to highlight SB 39, which was our EDD fraud prevention bill that the town of Yucca Valley supported, and we're very grateful for that. Unfortunately, it did get held in the Assembly Appropriations Committee, so that was our bill to make sure that unemployment applications would be cross-referenced with prison records. It should be a common sense thing, but our bill did not move forward. However, AB 110 was introduced by a member of the Majority Caucus, and they decided to move that bill forward. It's almost identical. So for Senator Grove, it's not so much about who gets the credit as long as the work is being done. So the intent was accomplished, and we're grateful for that. Some of our other bills also got held up in committee. However, SB 287, which consolidates certain recreational trailer licenses under the standard Class C driver's license. That bill did move forward, and that was one of our Senator Grove's bills specifically. So we were excited about that. I want to talk a little bit about the Employment Development Department and the crisis that we're currently facing in terms of the debt that the UI Trust Fund owes to the federal government. So during COVID, California has racked up a debt of almost $20 billion for the UI Trust Fund. Now that fund is completely paid for by business owners, so it will need to be repaid. If the legislature does not act to address that debt in 2024, payroll tax increases will need to begin in order to pay that down. For a matter of perspective, the Great Recession in 2008 racked up a debt of about $9 billion, and it took 10 years for business owners to pay that off. So Senator Grove has been advocating that with some of the surplus money, this year the surplus was $75 billion. She asked the legislature and the governor's office to start paying down some of that debt so that it doesn't get put on the backs of business owners. Unfortunately, the governor was only willing to agree to a $1 billion paying down, and then when that got brought to the legislature, the majority shot it down completely. So there was no money that went towards paying down the debt. In comparison to other states, with us sitting at just under $20 billion, the next state down is New York, and they have $9 billion worth of debt. So there's no state above $10 billion except California. So that's, of course, a huge concern to us because we do not want business owners to have to bear the burden of not only that huge debt, but also the fraud that took place and the rampant giving out of money that the department did without following proper safeguards to make sure that they were legitimate claims. So we're going to be continuing to advocate next year that the legislature takes action to pay down some of that debt to prevent it from being put on business owners. We had a lot of work for veterans this year and some great and exciting successes. Senator Grove is on the Governor's Military Council, and we had our first in-person meeting for that council, and it actually took place here at McCaxey 29 Palms. So we got to host members. There are a lot of retired admirals, generals from all branches of the military who advised the governor on military issues in California. They all came down here and toured the base out there. So that was a really exciting opportunity, and she's going to continue advocating for veterans and active duty service members this coming year as well. To close, I just want to mention two bills that I thought might be of particular interest. It's hard to pick bills to highlight because there are so many, but it can get confusing if I'm rattling off AB this and SB that. So the two that I'll mention are SB 619, and that relates to the resources and recycling recovery measures that were passed that I'm sure you're familiar with. So this bill delays the ability of the department overseeing that to impose penalties on local governments for failing to make adequate progress towards those goals, so long as they submit notification of intent to comply. So it gives a little bit more leeway, and that pushes it out to January 1st of 2023. So compliance is still required, but there's delays in terms of when they'll be able to issue penalties or anything. Trying to kind of help municipalities and local governments to not have to bear those burdens quite so quickly. The other bill is AB 37, which will require vote by mail for every active voter starting January 1st of 2022. So that was a COVID measure that was implemented to address the pandemic, but now it's going to become permanent in California. I'm happy to take any questions. I know I gave a lot of info, and if anybody wants to meet, my office is always open to further elaborate on things.
Dominic, before I open up for anybody in the public who'd like to ask you a question, can you remind the public where your office is located, where Senator Grove's office is at?
Yes, thank you. So our main office is in Bakersfield, but we have a satellite office full-time here in Yucca Valley. I'm the primary staffer there, and it is attached to Bob Dunn's State Farm building, 7248 Joshua Lane.
All right, very good. So it's nice to have a local office here where we can
Yes.
go and talk to our state senator, or at least the representative, and be able to come in and give you a call as well. So anybody in the public have any questions on the presentation tonight? Anyone online? Okay, we'll bring it back to the council. Any council members, questions or comments? Go ahead.
What was the
Microphone.
What was the budget surplus in California for the year?
It was $75 billion, and a lot of that was because of federal COVID money that came to the state. Does that answer?
How has the governor decided to allocate that
So-
$75 billion?
Yeah, there were a lot of different things that went through, pet projects and different things. I'm not sure what the largest chunk of it went to, but I can definitely follow up on that.
Okay, I'm just curious where,
Yeah.
it'd be nice to have seen the businessmen get some relief.
Yeah.
But, okay, thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much for being here tonight, and
Thank you.
welcome back anytime you have any updates for us.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you, Dominic.
All right, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the meeting agenda as prepared?
Mayor, I'd like to make a little announcement, if you might want to consider. The Walmart specific plan, item number 13, is actually a published public hearing. So that should be moving up to item number 12 to be considered under the public hearing section earlier in the meeting.
Very good. Do we have an approval to go ahead and make those adjustments?
I approve.
We have a motion to approve
I'll second.
and a second.
Councilmembers Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Abel.
Yes. We'll move on to the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are routine matters or formal documents covering previous town council instruction. Items are enacted by one motion and seconded without separate discussion unless a member of the town council or town staff requests dialogue on a specific item at the beginning of the meeting. Requests for public comments on a consent agenda item should be filed with our town clerk. Staff, if you don't mind reading our consent agenda items 2 through to 10.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, on your consent agenda this evening, item number 2, waive further reading of all ordinances. Items 3 and 4 are Town Council meeting minutes from October 14th and October 19th of 2021, respectively. Item 5 is an update to your local agency investment fund authorized financial signatory resolution. Item 6 is a rejection of claim. Item 7, the 2022 Morongo Basin point in time count activity that's occurring on Thursday, January 27th from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. So if there's anyone interested in that, reach out to Deborah here at the town. We can hook you up for volunteers. Item 8, approval of acquisition agreement for property adjacent to the Business Center Drive Town Public Works and Community Development Yard, along with an authorized budget amendment in the amount of $427,000 as identified to accommodate the purchase and related costs. Item 9, AB 1234, reporting requirements. And finally, item 10, ratification of the warrant registers. That completes your consent agenda, Mayor.
Very good, thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone in writing who's requested to speak? Anyone in the public here tonight or online? All right, no one wishing to speak on the consent agenda items. We'll look for a motion or discussion or removal.
Mayor, I'd like to move that we adopt the consent calendar or consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Council members Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Abel.
Yes. We'll move on to our first public hearing. Public hearing on the Town Council election district boundaries relating to the 2020 U.S. Census results.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Your first public hearing this evening is for the review of the town's electoral district boundaries as they relate to the 2020 U.S. Census results. This is the third public hearing to gain the community's input on the proposed boundaries. Again, joining us this evening is Todd Tatum of National Demographics Corporation to explain the redistricting process, to present updated demographic information as a result of the census, and will launch the discussion on updating our current electoral district maps.
Great.
Welcome, Todd.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. We'll jump right in. Again, this is the third hearing of the required 4. Our next hearing will be on February 1st, at which time we hope that you all will be able to choose your final map. Again, our deadline for adoption is April 17th, 2022. Just a reminder that we were delayed in the census data, as you know, and we didn't get the state of California prisoner adjusted numbers until September 21st, and they had a flaw in them, and we didn't get the corrected numbers until September 27th. Just a quick review of what we need to follow as we go through the redistricting process. These are the 3 categories that we follow in each and every time that we do this. The first being the federal laws, which are equal population for every district. We have to follow the Federal Voting Rights Act, and there can be no racial gerrymandering. Again, in California this year, the laws were presented to us in ranked order that we have to follow. The first being each district must be geographically contiguous, or to the extent practicable. We look to keep undivided neighborhoods and communities of interest, just that, undivided. We want easily identifiable boundaries, and we want to keep our districts compact, meaning that we don't want to reach for one group of people and bypass another just to form a district. And a reminder that we do not favor or discriminate against any political party, and as you'll see in any of the demographic data that NDC produces, there's no political party affiliation. The other category that we follow are the more traditional redistricting principles. We want to minimize voters shifted into different election years, meaning if you have folks in your district now that are anticipating voting in 2022, we want to do our best to keep them in your district and keep them in that election cycle. We want to respect the voters' choices and the continuity in office. We do look at any future population growth that might be identified, but it's just to let you know where they are in the upcoming districts so that maybe in the future, 10 years down the road, when you go through this process again, we've anticipated an increase in one of your districts. And we want to do our best to preserve the core of your existing districts. So tonight, NDC has produced 2 draft maps for your review. Both of the maps that we have created have a deviation under the required 10%. In the first 2 public hearings, I went over the fact that your current numbers were over 10%. In fact, they're at exactly 14. Let me get that for you. Your current districts are at 14.83% deviation, meaning some are much higher than they should be and some are much lower, and it averages out to be 14.83%. We need to have that number at 10% or less. NDC Map 101, which I'll show in a few minutes, has a deviation of 5.39%, and NDC Map 102, that's also in your packet, has a deviation of 5.07%. This is your existing district map, just to show you where the district lines are, and for those in the public who maybe have not seen this on the web page. It shows also the deviation within each district. This is a little more close-up of more of the town center. I'm not sure you can read those demographics, but it's broken down all the way through citizens' voting age population into voter registration for 2020, voter turnout in 2020, voter turnout in 2018. You've got age, immigration statistics, different languages spoken at home. There's quite a list there for you to go through. Next up, we have the first draft map that NDC has produced. We're calling it NDC 101 map. And you'll see when I zoom in that the current lines and where the adjustments were, right there, the top portion of District 3 was divided between Districts 1 and 2. That was enough to bring the deviation down to 5.39%. Meaning that every district there is basically in balance, the largest one being District 3, District 2. If you look on the demographic, it'll list out what the actual count is and the percentages. District 2 had an increase of 115, District 3, 111, District 1 down 20, 4 down 87, District 5 down 120. And again, we go through all the demographics that anybody could want to see in these proposed districts. Next up, we have NDC 102. And you'll see in the zoomed in portion, and again, this map, the deviation is lower at 5.07%. And the changes that were made are, back that up there. District 3 has now some of District 2 into it, and District 1 has a little bit of District 3. And those were enough to change the numbers to District 1 increased by 104, District 2 down by 117, District 3 increased by 74, District 4 down by 87, and District 5 by 25. And remember, those numbers, when I bring that up, that's based on the latest population numbers in your current districts. So those will be the difference in the districts. These new maps will be loaded on this week into the ArcGIS Online. A link will be provided to you and the public to go on to the Town of Yucca Valley website, where you can compare the existing maps with the two proposed maps. And next up, I would like to ask you all, number one, if you have any questions, but number two, I'd like you to provide direction on what map you might prefer. Do you prefer to see a different map with different variations that we can bring back to the next public hearing? I don't believe that you need to take that action tonight to decide, but we'd like to know prior to the next public hearing if you've settled on a map or if you'd like more, that we could then load into the interactive map review tool, and I could bring back to the next public hearing for consideration. And with that, I'm available for any questions, comments, and thank you again. It's always great to be back here in Yucca Valley.
Thank you for the information, Todd. As mentioned, the town's website has a page dedicated to the redistricting process. A link to these draft maps will be included hopefully by the end of this week. The public is encouraged to also submit comments to myself through the website or direct email. We'd be happy to take those into consideration for council consideration. And the recommendation before you is to conduct a public hearing to receive public input on district boundaries and to receive and file a report on the redistricting process and permissible criteria to be considered to redraw district boundaries. That concludes the staff report, and we'll be happy to answer any questions following the public hearing.
Very good. We'll move to our public hearing. It's now open and looking for comments from anyone here from the public, anyone here in the audience tonight, in our presence. No thoughts on redistricting? Okay. Anyone online? All right. Well, that's a good sign too that, there was a lot of public comment at the beginning because there were so many unanswered questions, but I think people are getting used to the idea of districts and so forth and maps and so on. So we're hoping we get as much public input as possible. So we'll bring it back to the council. Any comments?
I'd like to.
Go right ahead. Mm-hmm.
When we first drew districts, we tried to make a conscious effort to kind of divide things of interest like schools and shopping areas and highway frontage, and so that all districts had a little bit of the entities that were important to the populations in their district. Does the changes on any of these maps significantly change any of those areas? It looked like the changes were really minor.
Very minor. And we wanted to take that into consideration because we know, that you all really settled on the boundaries that worked and kept your communities of interest and neighborhoods together. So these minor changes were just enough to make the maps comply with the California Voting Rights Act in the federal.
According to the statistics, in the 2020 census, did our population change much? Or is what I'm seeing is only these numbers here, the various districts changed by less than 100 or 200 people. Is that what?
It was a very small increase.
And it was spread out relatively evenly
Yes.
throughout our community.
Exactly.
Okay. So it seems like we went and did a lot of effort in the very beginning when we first made districts, and that this new statistical information from 2020 kind of fits in that we had done kind of a good districting then, and we make just some minor changes, and now we'll still be into the future with the same kind of parameters that we had in the very beginning being equally divided so that we can all try to make choices better for the entire community rather than just a district that's heavy in industry or heavy in schools or whatever.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. I think you've done excellent work. And my District 4, I don't even think changed at all. So I'm kind of not important here. No. Either one of the maps looked good.
Yeah, one of the things I like about the map 101 is that it just seems to keep the Anaga Trail as a very easy, clean division between districts and so forth, easily understood and so forth. It does do some changes there between the District 5 and District 3 is adjusted quite a bit, and also 2. So, I mean, there is a disruption. Some people are going to get tossed into another district, which is always unfortunate. Do you think one or the other is more disruptive to personal residents? Which has the least amount of movement, and or they're going to, because of the population, there's going to be pretty similar between the two maps?
You know, they are pretty similar. It seems to me that it looks like 102 might have, you know, a smaller footprint that was actually moved. When you look at that sort of the south part of District 1 that dips now into District 3 on map 102, that is really about 6 or 7 census blocks. And where District 3 moves up into District 2, that looks like it may only be a couple of census blocks. Now, when these maps are put on the interactive review map, you'll be able to zoom in and see detail on every street, what they are. It's hard to translate that into a PDF to make it legible at all for you all.
Yeah, I also like on map 101, you notice how District 5 and 102 has that little finger that goes up there into the other district, into District 2, and that's eliminated with that.
Right.
Yeah, with 102, it adds a different shape there. But again, I like, for me personally, I like to keep it as original, obviously, as possible. So I do like Onaga. It just makes sense that those neighbors on either side on Onaga, whatever their issue might be, just seems like a cleaner dividing line. People can sort of understand it on that side of the street. They're in another district, and on this side, everybody's on the same page. So I prefer the 101 over the 102, but they are minor changes, either one. I don't know, how do you feel? It changes your district?
It does, but just looking at it, I had the same impression. It just looks like a cleaner division to map number 101.
Yeah.
Looks like more natural, follows the streets better. Just a cleaner breakup. And like you say, with District 5, losing that little tail up there, I think that's even a clean division. So I favor 101.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I've looked at all the maps. While the changes are small, I think it is actually putting better lines in the sand on where the residents live and what district they're in. I like map 1. It does affect my district a little bit. That did transition across the highway, actually right into this area behind us. But it does flow better in understanding because it brings that whole District 2 down into that area as one and keeps 5 a little cleaner along the highway. So that would be my point too. And I do like the point on Onaga. It's sometimes we have the same kind of thing with boundaries of the town on Buena Vista, where that's not actually the line, it goes a block back. And you would see that partially in Onaga. That could become a little confusing, for residents to know exactly where they're at. So my choice would be 101 at this time. But I'd like to wait and hear from the community. I'd like to hear your thoughts and considerations and even ideas that maybe we're not seeing. So I'm looking forward to hearing from the public and as we move forward. But thank you, good clear maps, appreciate it.
All right, Councilmember Drodes?
I have one question. With 101 and 102, based off the original map, there was a lot of highway frontage, like, let's say District 1 has a lot of highway frontage downtown. District 2 does also over by Paradise Valley, and District 4 does. But how does it affect, just something to consider, District 3 and 5, how do the two changes affect highway frontage? Because we want all districts to represent, especially downtown. I noticed District 3 has highway frontage there on the left side, but I believe that's mostly rural area. I don't think there's much there. So I just wondered, I want to keep that in mind, the highway
Yeah.
frontage.
And those are exactly as they have been since you went to districts.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So it sounds like you got some feedback, and we're willing to, or wishing to hear from the public one more time on this. So,
And I will be in touch with Leslie, and before the February 1st, hopefully we can decide on a map and you all can move forward.
all right, excellent. Great. Thank you very much. I'll have a motion to receive and file. The report is given. Do we need to do the motion in a second, or just receive and file? Receive and file? Okay, good. Thank you again. We'll close the public hearing. And now we'll open up our next public hearing. This is on a specific plan for the Walmart specific plan. And we'll have staff's report.
I don't have the pack in front of me, so if you need to introduce anything. So I'm assuming everyone's familiar with how Walmart looks, so I'm going to give a little bit of background on why this application's here, and then talk about the changes. So with a normal sign permit or exterior color change, we're using the code to guide our review of that application. For a project that has a specific plan and one with a sign program, we use a specific plan to guide our review of whether that conforms with the specific plan, not necessarily with our development regulations in a vacuum. So Walmart proposed some sign changes and some exterior color changes that were not consistent with their specific plan. So they needed to amend their specific plan to allow for those changes. So that's why the application's here. In a nutshell, some signs are getting slightly bigger, some signs are getting slightly smaller. I believe there's a slight net decrease in the total sign area. So overall, the signage will get slightly smaller. The color change is substantially the same. It's slight different shade. Planning Commission worked with the applicant on that to bring something that we liked here. So, I mean, those are kind of the big picture of what the changes are. Minor copy changes on the signs, some signs get bigger, some signs get smaller. Net decrease in sign area. I think I saw that Jose Castro, who is a representative for Walmart, he is also on Zoom. So I think if we need any more explanation or context, he may be able to provide that. So with that brief explanation, I'm here for any questions that may arise.
Very good. We don't have any illustrations to put up tonight on that?
No,
Okay.
sir.
All right. Any questions from the public? Anyone speaking on this item, on the Walmart signage changes and the color scheme? It's always nice to see businesses putting money back in and so forth. Also, it's really nice and important that all these businesses that we have continue to maintain their landscaping to the highest level, because sometimes we see it fall off after they do their initial planting. So, anybody online?
Yeah, I'm Jose from WD Partners. I don't have any comments or questions. I just want to say that Walmart's happy to upgrade the store and do a refresh. They wanted to do a slightly different refresh, but the Planning Commission did want it to stay pretty similar. So color palette and finishes are all pretty much staying existing to remain, just kind of moving the colors around slightly.
Well, the renovation inside was quite impressive. Very nice shopping experience.
Yes, that included the interior renovation, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Council members?
I looked through the color changes, and they are pretty minor. I think that it looks really good, and I'm excited that you are reinvesting in making it look fresh and new, and I wish luck to this, and I hope it gets completed soon. I think it should move forward.
All right, any other comments or motions? This has been reviewed by the Planning Commission, and they recommend that we move the item, so I'll make a motion that we approve the specific plan amendment as presented.
I'll second.
Council members Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Abel.
Yes. So this portion of the public hearing is over. Thank you so much, Jose, for being with us online tonight, and thank you for staff's presentation. We're going to move on to our department reports, the new number 13, annual financial report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you see the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year end June 30, 2020. State and local legislation require the town to have an audit of its annual financial statements. The 2020-21 fiscal year audit was conducted by Rogers, Anderson, Malady, and Scott, LLP, a firm of independent CPAs appointed by and reporting to the Town Council. The purpose of the audit is to state an opinion with regards to accuracy of the town's financial statements and results of operations. Scott Mano, a representative of Rogers, Anderson, Malady, and Scott LLP, is here to present the fiscal year 2021 audit report, including a brief summary of the audit process and related findings, and will be available to answer any questions. Hi, Scott. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome, Rachel. We have it? No? Okay. Thank you. My name's Scott Mann. I'm a partner at Rogers, Anderson, Malady, and Scott. What I'll do, I'm just going to go over a brief summary of what an audit is and what we actually do, and the responsibilities of each party. Responsibilities of the auditor, myself and my firm, is to audit the town's financial statements in conformity with generally accepted auditing standards in the United States and government auditing standards promulgated by the government. Well, I can't even forget. Now I drew a blank. Some federal agency. I can't remember who it is. Our goal is to express opinions on the financial statements that they're fairly presented in all material respects in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles, and those are promulgated by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. One thing that we like to stress is that we provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements are fairly presented in conformity with GAAP. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but it is not absolute assurance. You know, we can't look at every transaction that runs through the town's accounting function in order to do a absolute assurance. I mean, we could, but we'd never leave and it would cost a fortune. So a high level of assurance. And then we assist the management in drafting the financial statements for the town. It's an ACFR. It changed its name. It used to be called a CAFR. Now it's an ACFR. And that was actually a Governmental Accounting Standards Board statement change that they actually issued that. So now it's actually GAAP to be called an ACFR. We also perform some procedures on the Measure Y and Z programs, and we prepare other required reports as needed. The audit process, we typically divide it into interim and year-end. Interim, we come out April, May, June. Update understanding of the entity, test various controls over disbursements, payroll, receipts as needed, and review various cycles as well to get updates, etc. And then we come back around September, October, November. We do what we call the audit of the numbers. That's when the town says we have $1 million in cash, and essentially we say, prove it. Provide me evidence that says that you have $1 million in cash. And typically that involves bank recs, bank statements, confirmation with a third party. So we ask the bank to say, okay, what was the bank balance at June 30? And then we also, inspecting just other documentation as we see fit. And we also perform analytical procedures comparing current year to prior year, current year to the budget, current year to the original and final budget, just to get a feel of how the numbers should be. And one thing we like to stress is that all of our procedures do involve judgment. You know, it's just auditor judgment on just about everything we do. Other work completed, we read council minutes to see if contracts are approved, what's going on. Like tonight, your LAIF signature, I heard that, I was like, oh, hey, I have to remember that. Updating your LAIF signature card. We do work on the GAN limit as well, and we review any relevant documentation, grants, debt agreements, et cetera. And then we also test compliance with various regulations throughout the audit itself. And then completing the process from our side, we compile the statements. And another thing I like to stress is that, you've got this document in front of you. It's management's. It's not mine. I claim 3 to 4 pages in here, and that's the audit report. And that's the only thing that's mine. Everything else is management's and management's representation. Let's see, we compile the data, help management compile the statements and the notes. We complete the review process. All the work papers are reviewed by myself. The statements, I actually prepared these this year. So if you find any problems, don't say anything. And then we develop opinions on the statements as well. And then I'd like to say that the opinion that we gave was unmodified, and that's the highest level of assurance that we can provide on a set of financial statements. We also do a letter on internal control and compliance, the appropriations limit, and SAS 114, various required communications. There were no findings. We had no internal control issues, so that's a good thing. We also review management's discussion and analysis, the letter of transmittal, and the statistical sections that are also included in the ACFR. We do perform agreed upon procedures reports, and unfortunately I don't have those tonight. We can get a copy of them to you guys. But there were no findings in either report. We had no issues with anything in either report. They are separate funds in the financial statements, so you can go to those funds in the statements and see the activity of what happened in the fund during the year. And then we perform various other procedures in dealing with the measures Y and Z. And with that, do you have any if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Very good. We'll open up to the public. Any questions on the report? All right. Hearing and seeing none. Any other things to add from staff?
Thanks again, Scott, for your presentation. The unmodified opinion is a result of Council's sound fiscal policies, procedure, and financial management of the town of Yucca Valley. Town staff will once again submit the current annual report for consideration in the GFOA Financial Reporting Award Program that we've won for the last 16 years. And the recommendation is just to receive and file the ACFR for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021.
Mayor, if I could just add a couple of comments of gratitude to Rachel. What was your start date?
July 12th.
July 12th, which was 12 days after the close of the fiscal year, and coming into a municipal organization, her charge was close the books, figure out how municipal accounting works, and make sure that we get it right, and don't mess up the 16 years of continuous awards that we've been able to get. We won't know that until spring, but I'm quite certain that we'll get that 17th year of awards. So thank you, Rachel, for all of the work and efforts going into this process. We do appreciate that.
Very good.
I'm sorry, Mayor, if I could jump in real quick. I want to thank Rachel and Curtis because the transition between Jordan and Rachel was pretty seamless. I mean, it seemed to work very well. One thing that we consider when we do an audit is how many journal entries, how many times we have to adjust the books. And I think anything under 5 is great from an audit standpoint. I think we had 3. One of them was because we didn't get the sheriff invoice till later, so blame it on the sheriff. So we had to wait for that to come in order to post that. So I think it was a fabulous job all around by Rachel and the staff this year. So.
Well, Curtis and Shane have a long track record of making great hires, so that continues.
It does.
Anyone have a question before we receive and file? All right, we receive and file the report. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. We'll move on to our next department report, number 14.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Item 14 is your 2022-2024 draft strategic plan. Your strategic plan is included in your agenda packet and goes through all of your various strategies and action plans, objectives, goals by function, whether it's for focusing on town administrative tasks, whether it's focusing on our broader exposure to the community or our exposure as a region. We divided up into all of those areas to identify what our work plan is for the upcoming period. Just a couple of reminders in your last discussion that we talked about. Due to COVID, due to the issues that we've had with Joshua Trees and some of that impact on staff, primarily with COVID, was the inability to move through some of our plans and initiatives and actions as quickly as we would have liked to in the past 2-year time frame. So the recommendation in your draft plan moving forward is really to focus on those items that have not been delivered and get those moving into high gear. And so that's really where the focus is in the upcoming time frame. And this will, again, once it's completed and finalized by the council, will come back and be the guiding document for your upcoming budget cycle as well. We do have one slide that I wanted to bring up, and this is a consolidation of what I would call probably the more visible priorities. This is not all of them. And again, we would refer the council and the public back to your published strategic plan, draft strategic plan for all of the different initiatives. There are many more than this, but these are the ones that we pulled out at a staff level that we thought were more visible to the public, were more visible to staff in terms of council comments back to staff at various times. As we kind of threw them into the mix and asked the council to go through the exercise of identifying 2 that were your individual top priorities, and then you can go through and identify the others on a scale of 1 to 5. And in doing that, we were able to then come up with a kind of consolidated ranking of the various high-profile strategic planning strategies. So just wanted to walk through these, and then obviously we'll solicit your comments as part of this discussion, but a couple of overarching comments. The 3 that are identified in olive green shading are what I would consider either impacted by third parties that are either the primary public service entities related to that service or are through a contract. So, for example, Station 41 replacement was the council's collective highest ranked item. We don't provide that service. We can facilitate in whatever way we can with San Bernardino County Fire Department. And that guidance certainly is clear here on that initiative. Likewise, with the continuation of delivery of Aquatics and Rec project, as you know, we're under formal contract agreement with Department of Parks to deliver that under the Prop 68 project. So that has its own set of conditions that we have to meet. So we understand those and we'll continue to move that forward. And then lastly, the Yucca Valley Airport there toward the bottom of the list is a separate special district responsible for the delivery of that service, but nonetheless was on the radar for the town council in various capacities. So if we kind of move those off to the side for a minute, then just wanted to highlight the ones that have risen to the top for the council. Your short-term vacation rental policy update and related direction would be your top priority. As you know, staff is diligently working on moving that forward as quickly as we can, and that will be done in this upcoming time frame. Likewise, State Route 62 corridor maintenance improvements on both public, private properties ranked very high on the council's list of concepts, ideas, action plans. So staff will be putting together kind of a basket or a menu of different initiatives that may be included in addressing that goal for the town council. Evaluation of the open space area alternative in Old Town, again, another high priority, something that we've been talking about for a number of months, and the council's definitely interested in seeing that move forward. We may even hear some challenges on timing on that today. And then the others are listed there. Again, we just want to highlight that in your agenda packet, there are many others that are maybe a little bit less flashy or exciting than these, but those continue to be on our radar. We've color-coded them in your strategic plan, so the ones in the light pink are really the ones that we haven't been able to deliver in the time frame so far, so those would be priorities moving forward. So with that, I'll stop talking and let the council chime in here, provide any other comments on these. If there's something that we at a staff level have missed in this planning exercise, feel free to bring that up tonight. Again, this is a draft of your strategic plan. We'd be happy to incorporate it and bring it back. Right now, your next steps will be to get input from the council this evening and then bring back a final plan likely in December. And then that will be our launching pad into your next 2-year budget cycle based on the priorities that you establish in your strategic plan. Mayor, that's all the comments this evening. Thank you.
Very good. We'll move it to public comments. I thought it was a good idea that we made sure that everyone had to do at least only 2 5s.
Yeah.
So that was good, because I know a lot of us would like to put 5s on a lot more of them and so forth. No one from the public online or here? Okay, we'll bring it back to our council. I had a question on the one that's policies for modification of town's maintenance road system. What was staff's definition of that item?
Council, recollect that you have an ad hoc committee established for that, and there was some conversation at various times throughout the years on what does reviewing what we have established already through policy, looking at those policies, identifying is there an opportunity for potential change, whether that is in how you're currently treating your maintained dirt roads, maintained road system, additions, deletions, what the constraints are that the town would have from a financial liability, other types of aspects that go into that program. So all of that kind of is wrapped up into that in the desire for the council to occasionally look and review and see if there are modifications that should be appropriate for that.
All right, and would that be including changing some current dirt roads into paved roads?
Yeah, of course, that's exactly that.
All right, well, that is, again, one of the items I felt was important, because we've been established for 30 years, and we still have roads really close to town hall that are dirt, and they already have now sewer, but they don't have a paved road. So again, I'm asking that our subcommittee get together and meet on that particular item and be able to at least bring back a report to the council so they can decide if we need to move that up as a priority or address some of those issues. So again, with not having current report on that, somebody might not realize it's a bigger issue to people than they think. So I guess that could be on future agenda item, but in the meantime, we definitely need the subcommittee to meet together and discuss some suggestions that we can bring back to the council. Yes, go ahead.
Along that same line, I want to comment on the Yucca Valley Airport background and potential partnership line. I too feel that's an important thing that might be overlooked in this budget, or the ideas of what we need to move forward. Strategic planning is for a 2-year period, and I think the airport is in a situation where it needs the leadership of. I think the town could provide the leadership to move that forward in a way that will preserve the airport. If we go another 2-year cycle without addressing it at all, we may end up with an airport that's not usable, which would, I think, put the community in danger. And I think it needs to at least be looked at in the next 2 years. I know we may not be able to fund major changes, but we need to take a seat at the table and bring the parties together to get something moving forward on it, instead of just kind of stagnant like it's been in the last several years. We need to move forward with something that preserves our airport for the future.
So council has asked, if I might, Mayor, just add a couple comments. Okay, so the council has asked for an update on the airport district, and we are providing that. We're trying to coordinate that with 2 separate parties, one representing the Yucca Valley Airport District, which is the lead agency charged by LAFCO for delivery of that service. And so clearly they're in the leadership role on delivering the services for the Yucca Valley Airport District. Second entity is the Yucca Valley Airport Incorporated, which actually owns the strip that's leased to the district. And so trying to ensure that when we provide an update to the council and the community, that representatives of both of those the lead agency as well as the Airport Incorporated are able to participate and answer and provide information to the council as appropriate, which I think would help the council understand what the issues might be and then what facilitating role the town may be able to play.
That's very valid. Yes, thank you. I don't know what.
Excellent. Any other comments? The evaluation of open spaces area alternatives in Old Town, it's almost like it's an expanded issue or a specific one, but it's also really comes close to the corridor maintenance and improvements of the looks of the area. So, I mean, to me, it's all in the same. You know, we're trying to upgrade the appearance of the town, trying to keep people shopping locally, have some event centers, be able to have an opportunity for maybe a farmer's market or something. So I think concentrate on Old Town with some funds and helping to bring properties up to a better standard and have weed abatement and all those types of things are really important. So it's really great to see the council pretty much in agreement on what the important items are.
Yeah, I think staff put together a good list, representative of the highest priorities. And with regard to the airport, I am anxious to see what role the town would play, you know, if we can get, you know, those parties together and see what role we would play, because it just seems like one of those things that's hanging out there that maybe we can or can't do something about, but
not aware of it.
I'd like to get some clarity on that, so I look forward to that. But I also see on these top priorities up here on the top of the list, the opportunities that we have for, economic development. I think it's important to keep the momentum going that we have in this town, and I think addressing the short-term vacation rentals quickly is important so that we can give clarity to the investment community as well as to residents as to how that's going to impact our community going forward. The corridor cleanup, well, I'd like to mention that the weed abatement on the highway medians is noticeable and really looks good. But I think there's more we can do, and if we can partner with the business community in some way to help clean up and improve the look of the corridor, I think with people coming into town all the time, I think that's important. I think those are opportunities that we don't want them to get away from us. And the open space alternative in Old Town, I am a strong advocate of the open space area in town, down in the Old Town area. And I think that's just a great concept that can provide parking and a venue for art shows, farmers markets, and so forth. And in fact, I was thinking that maybe in November of this year, when we host the Veterans Tribute, it'd be really a nice time frame to shoot for hosting the Veterans Tribute there. But that's just me. Could be a goal. But I'm in favor of all of those top projects there. Thank you.
So, yeah, thanks once again for putting this together. I think it's rated very well and identifying the projects that are already in progress. We know that. And it looks that they were pretty well supported by the numbers that they received also. I do like the social gathering ideas that we have in that open space area that's on Elk on the highway that we've discussed a few times. Glad to see that there's still a lot of interest in it by the council and staff. One of the things is I still look at our public safety and then activities to improve well-being, whether it's an activity like the aquatic center could be, the playing fields that they could be, our public safety partners and fire and the sheriff's department. Those are of the highest priority. And one that I've fallen, one that I think is very important, I remember all of us do, I believe, when Gloria used to come by quite often and remind us of the importance and the benefits to the seniors in our community, is the senior center. It is their gathering spot. It is their place for well-being and health. and socializing. So that was the reason that I gave a 5 on that one, because I think that's a very important piece of this retirement community that we have. So I wanted to keep it on the radar. I know we've had a lot of discussions with staff and with council before, and I know it's important to everyone, hence the higher numbers in that category. The rest of them are all very good, and I'd like to say that I think the mayor is absolutely right to look again at some of the possibilities for our road system and improvements in the near future. So I want to get back on track with that. Last year did knock us back behind, but I'm seeing a lot of these things that are being picked up. As personally, North Park has always been something I've wanted since I started here on the council, and we're in a position where it seems like it's shovel ready, and we're very close to moving forward with that. So thank you.
Yeah, and I would also add, and thank you for those comments, I would also add that, you know, these specific projects, like you're talking about South Park, or North Park, excuse me, improvements and so forth, as well as the downtown area improvements and the open space, I mean, those are community assets and so forth, where the funding could be basically taken from the TOT tax. You know, the people are coming in, they're visiting our area. Our community needs to see a return of that investment, those people coming in and having improvements in our downtown, Old Town area, not only make it a more pleasurable place for visitors to come, but also for our own community, and having gathering places and so forth. So I think if we earmark certain projects and use TOT tax money for those, then people will see there is a benefit for tourism, that they are getting reinvested in the community for events, the concerts in the park perhaps, or expanding it or improving it, for or Old Town experience, for the park improvement and so forth. So when it comes to funding, I think those might be very good ways of using those TOT dollars. All right. If there are no other comments.
Mayor, I think the last comment that kind of just struck me as we were looking at the lists is I think past councils and the current council should be recognized for providing the community an opportunity to support Measure Y and the resources that it provided to public safety. Council's number one goal has always been to ensure the public safety in this community. And in the strategic planning priorities that we've identified, one of the clear things that was missing really is an initiative based on public safety. And I think that speaks to the success that we've had providing public safety resources through Measure Y, that the voters have placed in this community, that confidence in the council to get that done. In other words, the projects that you have are projects, and we're not fighting significant crime issues where that becomes the primary issue. So I think it's just really a reflection that we've been successful in getting some of the really important things through public safety done, allowing now the community and the council to focus on some of these projects that really do begin to impact either infrastructure or quality of life for this community.
Very good, thank you. So there's a motion that we've received the information, reviewed it, direct staff to return with the final 2022-24 strategic plan for the town council approval and incorporate into our 2022-24 budget process. That's the motion before us.
I'll make that motion. I'll make the motion.
And I'll second. Schooler with the motion.
Council members Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Abel.
Yes. Thank you. Great report. We'll move on to any future agenda items. We've heard some comments about things that we believe in and need to be heard. I think staff's got that. Is there any agenda items that need to come up? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to our public comments. Thank you so much for joining us and staying with us. The Town Council takes this time to consider your comments on items of concern which are not on the agenda. When you're called to speak, please state your name and community of residence. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Inappropriate behavior which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting will result in a forfeiture of your public comment privileges. Town Council is prohibited by state law from making or taking actions or discussing items not on the printed agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone wishing to speak on anything not on the agenda? Anyone online? Anyone here in the public? Oh, okay.
Quiet night.
Very good. All right, we'll bring it back to our staff reports and comments.
Lieutenant, welcome this evening. Glad to have you here. Anything to update today?
Good evening, sir, Mayor, Council. With the holiday weekend or holiday week approaching, we will be doing some extra off-highway vehicle enforcement in the town and the surrounding areas. So we encourage the public to be proactive in their approach. Call us, notify us if your neighborhood or specific area is a problem area so that we can add that to our patrol area throughout the course of the holidays. And as we see an influx of visitors and out-of-towners to the area, it really helps us in the pre-planning stages to have an area to target and, areas of concern for the town residents. Other than that, just encourage everyone to be patient on the highway. We've been seeing a lot of upset drivers due to the construction and the increased traffic in the area, which has resulted in an increase in driving-related incidents, whether it's road rage type issues, traffic accidents, and things of that nature. So leave a little early, give yourself a little bit of time, and be patient, please. That's it, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Lieutenant. Chief Tuttle, anything for the council this evening?
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. Looking at the strategic plan priorities, once again, I appreciate the support. I like seeing that Station 41 replacement at the top of the list. I understand that, that's our responsibility, but I appreciate the support moving forward. I do want to give you just a quick update on what we've been doing the last month. In addition to running calls, which never seem to slow down, they only get more. As most of you know, every Monday night, our fire engine and ambulance crews here at Station 41 go to Miracle League. So that was 6 weeks of Monday nights that those guys were there. So proud of those guys for being there. They were late a couple times because of calls, but they ended up showing up. We participated with the Sheriff's Department on their National Night Out, and then we participated with CERT and other agencies with the Great Shakeout disaster preparedness event. And that was on October 23rd. We have continued communication with the state regarding the money for the new fire station, so that's moving forward. Not as quickly as we would like, but it is moving forward. And then just to remind people that it's still fire season. We just had a Santa Ana wind event. It's been warmer than usual this weekend. Although it's cooler today, it's going to be warm again next week. So hot, dry, windy conditions. So be vigilant. We still don't have any burning going on. The burning restrictions are in place, so no open fires. And then, although it's not even Thanksgiving yet, we're starting to get ready for Mara's Christmas Wish. So once again, your firefighters will be out collecting toys throughout the month of December. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief.
Appreciate you being here each week, each month.
Council, you've had a pretty exciting weekend with the Yucca Valley Film Festival, and December brings a number of events. So, Sue, you want to come up and give a quick recap as well as a calendar preview for December?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. We had a really fun Yucca Valley Film Festival, and I'm going to, I know Matt's going to want to come and do a full report, but I'm going to steal some of his thunder and give you some numbers. 675 tickets sold, so that was really great for a digital event. 1,674 movie views on Zerb, and videos viewed on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, over 6,000, and participating filmmakers, 45, which is a record for the film festival. So he hit a lot of records. I'll let him share some of those details with you. I want to make sure that the public knows that those winning submissions are available still for viewing on ZERB through the 21st. So for all the information, just go to yuccavalleyfilmfestival.com for all of that information. And we wanted to extend our thanks to Mayor Pro Tem Schooler for doing our welcome, and also for Councilmember Drozd and our PRCC Chair Ed Kiesling and our PRCC Commissioner Andrea Staley for doing the awards ceremony on Sunday night. So super great numbers, a lot of fun, just some great films, and great job by our director as well. Also, thanks to Mayor Pro Tem Schooler for acting as a host over there at the Veterans Day celebration at the Senior Center. Thanks so much for coming to that. And Nina works hard over there and just had a great turnout on, wow, she had like Marines and Navy there. And so that was pretty cool. And not quite the turnout we normally get. Our pre-COVID veterans celebration over there is packed to the gills, but we understand that some people aren't yet comfortable to come out to an event like that. But we appreciate those who attended, and we hope to do more in the future. Youth basketball registration kind of winding up. Numbers are still good. We're at 275 right now and still accepting registration. So, our little kids is starting to fill up as well. So kids eager to get back to youth basketball. Still ready to keep going. We had a great spectacular, as I reported before. We're headed into more holiday events. We'll have the new tree lighting ceremony at the Yucca Valley Branch Library. That'll take place on November 30th. The event is 5:30 to 7 p.m. with the tree lighting at 6 o'clock p.m. So that'll be a new event. We'll have holiday music, hot cocoa, and a specialty coffee bar. We'll have Santa there and a free book giveaway. So join us there at the library on November 30th. Our big snow play day, 40 tons of snow, just tons of snow out there in the town hall parking lot. That's on Saturday, December 4th, and it pairs with our holiday craft fair. So you can buy some unique handmade gifts from local artisans. So come shopping with us. We'll also have holiday photos with Santa on that day as well. So that's Saturday, December 4th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. here at the community center. Our letters to Santa is also open. That lasts from November 4th to December 4th, where you can either mail your letter to Santa here to the community center or drop it off. Santa's mailbox happens to be out in the hallway. So you can drop off your letters there as well. Also new this year, we're going to have a Mario Kart Deluxe holiday tournament. It's scheduled for December 20th, so we're going to do it. It's kind of a kickoff to the winter break. Is come and sign up for this Mario Kart tournament. We have some really cool Nintendo-themed prizes, so we're going to kick off their vacation in a big way. We have 2 age divisions, so check out our website, yucca-valley.org. Click on that recreation button and find out the information about that. It's free to enter, and there's some cool prizes, so lots of holiday events coming up, and that's all I have. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your report.
Thanks.
Deborah, Armando, Rachel, anything today? All right. Shane, got anything for us?
Sure, I get to follow Mario Karts and Santa Claus with
always has such
stuff that's not
energy.
quite as fun. Planning Commission is meeting next Tuesday. We have 4 public hearings on the commission's agenda. The first 3 of those items are related to the town's housing element and requests from state housing and community development staff that we amend certain codes in order to achieve housing element certification. For the most part, I would refer to these as minor cleanup items to satisfy the state HCD staff. The 4th public hearing that evening is for short-term vacation rentals. Staff will be doing public outreach. We've already started public outreach efforts. We'll be continuing that to try and maximize attendance at that Planning Commission public hearing.
Thank you, Shane. Mayor, just 2 additional comments. We were able to participate in the 29 Palms Veterans Tribute on Veterans Day, so we were grateful for them hosting that event. downtown, and 29 Palms had a pretty good showing. Some funny comments from First District Supervisor Cook, as you can imagine. And then on a fun but interesting note, on our Prop 68 project, we had a mandatory site walk for all design firms interested in bidding. And we had attendance between design firms and subconsultants and contractors of about 50 people here, taking a look around at the property, and then they came here to the Yucca room for a brief presentation on the project to understand a little bit more in detail what the project consists of. So very encouraged by the participation, and we hope to see that in the resulting RFP responses that are expected. I believe they are due the Monday after Thanksgiving, so hopefully we get a good turnout on those as well. That's it, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll go on to our mayor and council member reports. Council member Drodes.
I just want to say the Yucca Valley Film Festival, handing out the awards was a lot of fun, and that was great. So, and Matt and Oregon did a great job. A lot of participation. I haven't seen all the movies, but a lot of them are very interesting. And I just want to say everybody be safe over Thanksgiving, and be careful driving out there, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Councilmember Lombardo.
I'll keep it brief. I just, with the Thanksgiving coming up, I hope one of the things that everybody can be thankful for is that they live in Yucca Valley. And there are so many other things to be thankful for, but that is on the top of my list. So thank you to a great staff that provides a lot of hard work so that we can see what's happening and make decisions. It's presented well always in clear fashion so that we can gather the information we need to make our decisions. And we thank you very much. And that's it.
All right. Councilmember Dennison.
Thank you, Mayor. Sue, I get so tired just listening to all the activities that you guys are doing, and I remember earlier you were talking about the Mario Kart racing, and I'm glad the popularity is still there, and a good idea to kick it off. I had an opportunity to watch the award ceremony, and I got to see Jeff and Ed on online, and it was very cool to watch, even though it was virtual, and I missed it in person, but we're starting to see people re-engage and feel more comfortable about presenting in person. And I was happy to see Dominic Hayden back again for Senator Groves here tonight and give us an update on a lot of the things that are going on in Sacramento. It's hard to keep track of all that, and I'm glad that he's here as our local representative for our senator. All the reports we had, NDC, great, our annual comprehensive financial report, and Rachel, thank you. I know you jumped right into it, and those were good dates that that Curtis had brought up, and so far great. And that's about it. I just want to say one more thing. I'm really excited this year to attend the new tree lighting on November 30th. Our tree had really done a great job for many, many years, and it needs a break. So this new location at the San Diego County Library right across the street, as many know, is the old PFF. Come on by. I'm sure we'll have hot chocolate like usual there and a great tree lighting. And hopefully the fire department might find Santa if he's not too busy out there this year. So thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Schooler.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that tree lighting too. That's it's really going to be a big step forward for our community. I think I'm glad to see that happening. And the snow day and the craft fair and all the things that the rec staff does, they just kind of make the season that much more special. And the Veterans event over at the Senior Center, I thought was I just appreciate the effort from Sue and staff and Nina over there. It was a good presentation, good tribute, and I thought well enough attended by some of the veterans that are part of the Senior Center. And I appreciate 29 Palms doing the annual Veterans Tribute, attended that, and look forward to us having ours back here this year, or this next year. And it's just more and more good news from the financial end of things. We looked at that dashboard last meeting and saw that we're like top 20 in the state or close to that. And then this ACFR is pretty impressive, and it just keeps on going. So thanks, staff, for that. With that, thank Dominic for showing up. The Shannon Grove update, that was good to hear. And Miracle League, Captain or Chief Tuttle mentioned the fire guys showing up to the Miracle League. That's a pretty special event in our community. They have a season in the spring and also in the fall. Our town attorney is the regular pitcher for that, and we have a lot of council members and staff that support that program. And if you don't know what that is, that's for members of the community with disabilities, a lot of them kids and some older. They go out and play baseball, a modified version of baseball during those abbreviated seasons, but they really look forward to it, and it's really a good program in our community. So appreciate the fire personnel showing up week after week. They're really have a good impact on the kids that are part of that program. So thank you for that. So that's it.
Thank you. Again, we would ask for the public to give us feedback on the redistricting options. We look forward to being able to get that done and taken care of, but your feedback is important. Again, Planning Commission meeting, important meeting on November 23rd at 6 o'clock right here in the Yucca Valley Community Center Yucca room. So we hope that you attend that and give your feedback to the Planning Commission. And I think maybe Mayor Pro Tem should guess the number of light bulbs on the tree contest. So if you could count all those light bulbs before they go up, we'll have that contest, and Sue will be able to put that together. And Councilmember Drodes, if you would like to get feedback on what some of the movies that were at the film festival are worth watching, I plan on picking his brain and having him narrow down the list for me so I could see those before they go offline. But I know you watched quite a few of them. You had your popcorn, according to your wife, and your soda, and you started watching movies. So go ahead and email him. He'll be glad to give you a review of the films and give you his top picks. So very good. Well, thank you both for going to the film festival and filling in on my behalf. I appreciate that. Couldn't think of two better people to fill in besides you, Lombardo, because I know you just love the film festival. But other than that, we are going to close out tonight's meeting. Our next regular meeting will be Tuesday, December 7th at 6 o'clock right here in the Community Center Yucca room. Have a good night and be safe.